Hello, friends. Welcome back to yet another informational session on Healthy Life the Vegan Way. I'm your host, Kalindi. Healthy Life the Vegan Way is in collaboration with World Vegan Vision, whose mission is to empower you to be healthy, to be kind, to be vegan, and to be human. Today, we are back again with Dr. Shrenik Shah to continue our discussion on how to prevent, manage, and reverse disease with a plant-based diet. For those who are new, Dr. Shah is a humanitarian, an advocate of veganism, and a practicing physician in internal medicine for over 35 years. And he's an advocate of veganism. Uh, he is a firm believer and follower of whole food plant-based diet. He strongly recommends vegan lifestyle to prevent, reverse, and manage disease and lead a healthy life. We have a guest with us today on the show, Dr. Zishan Ali. Dr. Ali is the India Program Specialist at Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, known as PCRM, based out of Washington, D.C. Dr. Ali manages the India Outreach and Medical School Outreach programs. He provides lectures focused on plant-based nutrition for chronic disease prevention. He also writes scientific review articles on non-animal-based research methods. Welcome, Dr. Ali. So our topic today, which we are going to discuss with both Dr. Shah and Dr. Ali, is on how to prevent, manage, and even reverse diabetes with a plant-based diet. According to WHO, the World Health Organization, the number of people with diabetes has exponentially rose from the 80s, which was about 108 million, to 422 million into 2014. This data is from 2014. Diabetes is also called the silent killer. It's a major cause of blindness, kidney disease, heart failure, stroke, limb amputation, nerve damage, and also dental disease. So, knowing and understanding the toll it takes on, the disease itself takes on an individual, I think it's a very, very important topic. So research, and the good news in all of this is research shows that a whole food plant-based diet can help reduce the symptoms of type 1 diabetes and also can help manage and reverse type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes. So let's hear from the experts today, Dr. Shah and Dr. Ali. Dr. Shah, let's start the discussion with you.
Hey, Dr. Zishan Ali. It's really my honor to have you on the screen and in front of thousands of viewers. And I think, as you know, I've been practicing for all the disease burden. When I used to practice in residency, I used to see diabetes in 60s and 70s. And as I kept on practicing, it just started seeing in 40s and 50s and then 20s. And believe it or not, one of my pediatrician friends called me, she said, Shrenik, how do I treat diabetes? She was a pediatrician. 9-10-year-old kids are now coming with diabetes. What is diabetes? How one develops diabetes? Can you shed some light on this, Dr. Ali?
Yes, sir. First of all, I'm very, very thankful for inviting me in this show. And it's a great honor to be here. And I have known Dr. Shrenik Shah for a few months now, and I'm very happy to be connected with you and happy to know Kalandi here. So yeah, the question is, yes, the problem is very serious, especially in our country, India, but everywhere in the world, as Kalindi mentioned, that millions of people are having diabetes. What is diabetes? In simple terms, diabetes is a condition where our body is unable to handle glucose. So the food we eat gets converted into glucose. The glucose now has to enter the cell to provide energy to the body. But in diabetes, that glucose is unable to enter the cell because somehow the insulin hormone, which is secreted in pancreas, is unable to do its function. And we will explain it, why it is happening, what is the mechanism inside the cell, and we will talk everything about it. But in basic terms, insulin is unable to do its role, unable to bind the cell receptors. So the glucose is just circulating in your bloodstream. And what Kalindi mentioned is that why it is called a silent killer, because once the glucose is unable to go inside the cell, it is circulating in your bloodstream and reaching each and every organ of your body. That's why you see that people who have diabetes, they have problem with their kidneys or have their eyesight or with the nerves. So we have so many problems. So the pancreas is making the insulin, but insulin is unable to do its role. That's how diabetes starts, and it is called insulin resistance. So there is no lack of insulin. We have insulin, and insulin should do its role, but because of the intrinsic factors inside the cell, and we will talk about it, because of our lifestyle, because of the diet we are eating, we are seeing these problems in cells. And once you change those lifestyles, we can definitely reverse diabetes, and we will talk about it.
It's very interesting, Dr. Ali, you mentioned, because I usually draw a diagram for my patients. I show them that if a glass of water has nothing in it versus another glass of water, which has a lot of sugar in it, obviously the solution will be thicker. And when you let this sugar circulate in your blood vessels, it enters into the tiny, tiny cells, like capillary cells are less than a hair thick. And that's where the sugar gets into it and destroys it by all this chemical reaction that takes place. And then suddenly you start having the breakage of those blood vessels in the eyes, damage to those kidneys. So I can understand that that's really a huge impact, having sugar normal versus high in your blood. What do you want? All the complications, or you want a simple regular life, so healthy?
So true. So true. Yeah. So the sugar should not be in your bloodstream. It is, your blood is only the carrier for it, and it should do its role. It should take it to your cells,
Yes,
and you should fix that problem so easily by changing your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And, I also mentioned, and Dr. Ali also said, it's a silent killer.
Yes.
The blood sugar circulating in your system, generally when it goes to a certain level, that's when you actually get symptoms, right? Or is it true?
That's true, because if the glucose, for example, you know about the fasting glucose and postprandial glucose. So there is a limit where your body is able to handle it. But once it goes over the limit of that, then we see the problems, because there is so much sugar in the blood, and it affects each and every organ of your body. So our goal should be to control the glucose. We can do it with medications, but we can do it with a diet, and we will talk about it in a few minutes.
Good.
So that leads to the next question. As I already mentioned, according to the WHO, there is about 422 million people suffering from diabetes. Now, can you just briefly talk about what is the impact of so many million people suffering from this on the economy itself?
Of course, this brings to a very important discussion, that the cost of diabetes are both direct and indirect. And I'm just trying to explain it in a very simple terms so our audience get it easily. So the direct cost is something where the money comes out of your pocket. And it could be your expenses for medicines. It could be expenses for seeing a doctor. It could be expenses for insulin and insulin pumps. All these comes in a direct cost. And I was just reading an article before this meeting, is that on an average in India, I would say on the lower side, at least annual basis, we have 10,000 Indian rupees we spend. And I'm talking about, this is the minimal that you have to do. This is like the minimum everybody spends, those who have diabetes. And there are many more who are spending way too much money in the direct cost for diabetes management. But then there are indirect costs, because think about what happens to the price you pay as not being able to go to work, or having some kind of disability issue with diabetes, because so many people have amputations because of diabetes. So loss of productivity is such a huge factor for our economy. And then there is so much at stake, because your family is not happy, your friends are not happy, and you yourself is not happy, because somehow you feel like, oh, there is something going wrong, and you feel tired and exhausted. So that we are paying a huge, huge, huge cost for something which is preventable.
Absolutely.
Because this is lifestyle disease. And if we just change our lifestyle, and if we just change the way we think, and if we just change the way that we start questioning that, why am I eating this fast food? Why my food has become Americanized? Why can't I just eat my traditional Indian food. So then you start getting the answers, and then you see that, then you start seeing the changes.
So you're saying that that diabetes can be prevented, but a lot of people argue that it's probably related to my genes. So my father has it and my mother has it, and so I have it. What do you think? Is it just the genes, or is it a lot of environmental factors, like you're saying, the lack of exercise and, of course, the food? So what is the main role?
That's a very good question, Dr. Shah, because that's what people think, that my dad was diabetic or it runs in my family. But diabetes, type 2 diabetes, we are talking about type 2 diabetes mostly because this is a lifestyle disease, lifestyle disorder. And it is something which we have acquired. So maybe what we can say in your genes is maybe your habits you have acquired from your parents or from your family or the culture. But diabetes itself is not, I would say 95% of the people have nothing to do with the genes. If people know, if I can explain this, that there is a scientific term called epigenetics.
Right.
Exactly. Because
Yeah,
I'm glad
you
you
got
brought
it. I
it up,
know.
because that's
Yes,
where your individual environmental efforts come into play.
right, right. So
Beautiful.
that means your genes can place in a certain way if you expose them to a certain environment.
The on-off switches.
Exactly.
Right.
So that is called epigenetic. And if you change the environment, if you change the food or change your lifestyle, you can change like on off switch. There are switches which you can turn on or you can turn off based on what you are eating. So I would say people should not be worried about if diabetes has been in their family, as long as they are ready to make a change in their lifestyle. I can promise that diabetes is not a one way street, it's a two-way street. You can reverse it. We have many cases where patients have successfully reversed it. Now they are living a life without medications. And the past theory was that no, now you have diabetes, you have to live it with the medicines forever. That's totally a myth now. We have already broken that myth.
And like I said, with my experience, I have seen that I used to see diabetes in 60s and 70s. Now we see in 20s and 30s. It's such a shame. If that was a genetic disease, then how come it was manifesting later then? So
So
obviously we
true.
have changed. And they say in the China, they have DR2, DR3 genes, but it's remained unmanifested, remained in an off position, because for many years, China was a poor country, economy was poor. But now they're becoming rich, and now their dietary habits are westernizing. And now they say this diabetes is skyrocketing even in China. And by 2040, they say 30% of China could be diabetic. So
Oh my God.
statistics are very
That's
staggering,
shocking.
very shocking. Yes.
Yes.
That actually leads us into our next question. Epigenetics, as you said, the effect of environment on your genes, right? Something that you inherit, but when you change the environment, change your lifestyle, you're able to alter that, right? So how is the connection between, or what is the connection between animal based diet, animal food, and diabetes?
That is very important to discuss here, is that what has changed in our country in the last 40 years. Because if you see the numbers in 1980, if you compare it with 1980 to 2015 or 2000, or even now, our
Right.
diabetes numbers have significantly increased. Our diabetic population of people with diabetes has doubled in numbers. Our population has not doubled. So that means something has gone wrong in the last 40 years. So I was doing this lecture in a medical school, and I was doing my research on what has changed. So I found that in our country, the consumption of coarse cereals like ragi and jowar and bajra, all the consumption has decreased, and the consumption of animal products, it's meat, fish, eggs, mutton, chicken, has significantly increased. And same with oil. So what I found is that consumption of coarse cereal decreased, consumption of meat, animal products, and oil has increased. So that means it is directly related with our diabetes numbers, because at the same time we saw an enormous increase in our diabetes population. So that means animal products has definitely some role to play. Now, at the same time, in these last 40 years, we see that there is an westernization of our food has happened. So we are now eating more high fat foods, fats coming from animals, in either through Burger Kings or through Pizza Hut or through Kentucky Fried Chicken. So all these fast food things, even the chicken fried chicken now, previously we would say we would find idli and dosa as our vendors. But now what you see is because of the poultry farming, you find these fried chickens in every nook and corner of our cities. And same with eggs. And all these foods, animal products, are so high in fats. Milk, for example, is half of the calories in milk come from fats, 50%.
Wow.
And just imagine the leanest beef has 29% calories from fat, and people think that chicken is easy to eat, but chicken is 23%. The skinless chicken
Ah,
breast is 23% calories coming from fat. So all these fats now we are eating, and our body is unable to handle that much fats because our meals are full of fats and oils, and all these products they go inside. And we have if you have seen Dr. Bernard's presentation, he always gives this the picture of a cell where he defines that the eating those fats causes the buildup of fats inside the cell, which then interferes with the insulin signaling.
Yes,
right.
So
yes.
what I was talking about initially, that we will talk about it, that here I am talking about that insulin is being made in the pancreas, but because of this high fats in our diet,
Right.
there is a buildup of fats inside in the muscle or the liver cell, and now insulin is unable to do its role. It's unable to bind its function and let the glucose enter the cell. So that whole mechanism is disrupted
Yes.
because of our eating habits. And that's why our number one advice for people who have diabetes is that try giving up all animal products for 21 days. And within 21 days, you will start seeing changes. Second thing is go low on oils. Do not go do added oils, because we all, whatever we eat, even fruits have natural oils. You
That's right.
don't need to add any added oils in your food. So if you can focus on these two things, avoiding animal products and keeping the oils low, we can reverse diabetes. And we have done that, and we have so many success stories. And right now, we are running a program called Fight Diabetes with Food. It's a free program, and Dr. Shah would be joining us this week as a guest panelist. And we are discussing all these things that by food, by avoiding animal products, you can reverse, prevent, and manage diabetes.
Two more things I would like to mention from the dairy point of view, that 40% of the calories of the milk is contributed by lactose, and lactose is sugar.
Uh-huh.
And lactose goes in our body, as you know, it turns into glucose and galactose. Galactose is a protein that gets stored in the liver, but on a fraction of a second, it can come out as a sugar. So 40% of the calories of the milk is nothing but sugar. People don't connect the milk and diabetes, but that's where the connection is. So that's another thing. And the cheese is 10 times cholesterol. I mean, not the same topic, but cholesterol of one glass of milk is 24 milligrams, but one cup of cheese is 256 milligrams of cholesterol. That shows it's 10
Wow.
times concentrated. Cheese was one of the worst invention of the humankind. And to make the story complete, there is zero fiber in your animal foods. So the fiber is a beautiful thing because it doesn't get absorbed in your system. It fills your stomach, but doesn't give any calories. But the animal foods have no fiber at all. Whatever you eat, 100% gets absorbed. So that's what makes you obese also. So those are the beautiful points that goes in against the animal foods. Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Well,
totally agree what you just mentioned about cheese being 60% of the calories coming from fats, milk I already told 50%, and even one egg, if you see how much cholesterol is in one egg, 180 milligrams of cholesterol. Just
I
in one
myself
egg.
shocked.
Yeah,
And people don't eat one egg.
right. Yeah, they go with three or four.
Yeah.
Do we really need that thing cholesterol?
It
No,
is
we don't need
crazy.
any
Wow.
added
Yeah.
cholesterol. Our bodies, our cells
Yes,
can
yes,
make the cholesterol we need from the food we eat for our membranes. So we don't need any added cholesterol.
right.
And we even spoke, Dr. Shah, in the, to talk about cholesterol, that our cells, our liver cells already have a mechanism to produce
Yeah.
cholesterol, which is essential for the cell membrane, right? So eating added cholesterol from animal products is
And,
just not necessary.
So
and
true.
diabetes and high cholesterol combination is triples the risk of heart attacks. So obviously, this is all connected, all
Yes,
connected. So,
totally agree.
Dr. Ali, what do you think about the plant-based diet? What are the advantages you see? Disadvantages of the animal foods we already talked about.
Yes.
So, what are the things that plant-based diet has to offer?
Okay. So number one, when you somebody is switching from animal-based products to a plant-based diet, or somebody who is switching from vegetarian to a plant-based diet, that means you are also giving up all kind of milk products.
Right.
We see changes immediately because now you are, without actually counting, you are consuming less calories
Yes.
because 1 gram has only 4 calories as
Right.
compared to 1 gram of fat that is 9 calories.
9 calories.
So when you give all these fats, you cut down all the fats in your diet. Your focus is on that I'm eating fruits and legumes and grains and vegetables. Then you are getting everything you need, and you are getting so much fiber. And fiber has such a big role in controlling your appetite. Is that fiber gives you fullness. So when you have high fiber in your diet, let's say we want to have at least 40 grams of fiber per day in your diet. So when you have that, you automatically, instead of consuming, let's say somebody is consuming 2000 calories, you will consume less calories and you will feel like, oh my God, I am so full, I don't want to eat anything. So
Right.
without actually counting calories, you are eating what you like as long as you are eating plant based. And then you have eaten less calories, and then also all the fat which has been deposited in your cells, now all of a sudden you are not bringing added fats from outside, so that fats started disappearing from the cell, and now the cell is ready for the insulin to bind to it so that all the glucose can enter the cell. So we have seen cases where people have become more insulin sensitive. That means their insulin is now able to do its role in a heightened way. So you that's so many amazing benefits when you see, and not only with diabetes, even with other conditions. For example, people see that all of a sudden their joint pains have disappeared once
Correct.
they give up animal products. People see that no, their heart numbers, like their low density lipoprotein, the bad cholesterol, it started going down, and you feel more energetic. And once you feel more energetic and you feel good, and then you just want to talk about it and you want to sing about it and you want to tell the whole world that, guys, look, that I got this
Right.
amazing recipe why nobody has told me before.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It just takes an initial hump to change the lifestyle. But I tell my patients, I said, there was a time man lived in a jungle. I mean, before the farming was invented, about 23,000 years back, men used to live in a jungle. And what would he eat? There is no burgers, there is no
Right.
McDonald there. So
Yeah.
you eat from the nature, and you try to catch even a single rabbit on your with your bare hands. Good luck.
Good
You won't
luck.
actually catch
You
it.
won't get it.
So what would you eat? What grows on the trees?
That's true.
The leaves and the fruits and the nuts and the legumes, and that should be the real diet. And that's why our Rishi Munis lived to be what 100 years easily.
That's
That's
true.
what they ate, and they were
Yeah.
really healthy. There were no doctors in the jungle.
And it's so simple, right? Yeah. This approach is so simple. Is that you eat what grows from earth, and then you try to minimize the processing involved in the food.
Absolutely.
So it's such a simple recipe to avoid all these visits to doctors and spending so much money on medications and
Right.
degrading the quality of life. I mean, you want to look good and you want to feel good and you want to be smiling. You don't want to be worried about what you are eating. Oh my God, now my numbers are high and I'm seeing these so many
Right.
side effects of medications. We don't want that.
I'm a medical doctor, but still I should be biased towards that. But if you really define medicine, medicine starts when you have a disease. So you take your disease to a doctor, and that's what I do. But if you really look at it, the word Ayurveda,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful word. Ayu means life. Veda
Hmm.
means science. It's a
Science.
science of life from birth to death. They did not have any commercial things on the mind. They wanted you to have a best life possible. So I'm not necessarily favoring one over the other, but that involves eating natural foods.
That's
And
true.
that's what we should go back to. So India has a lot of traditions available that we can stick to and go back and get rid of these diseases. It's
Yeah,
really,
I don't know how many varieties of lentils we produce. I don't
yeah.
know if there is any other country that produces that many varieties of lentils.
Right.
And I think we can, if we can just utilize the food we grow, we don't have to think about that we need food from outside. Just our country produces so much, all the lovely food. Just go traditional, forget about America.
Yeah.
And we have a lovely palette of spices to flavor our food. We really don't need oils, like
So
how
true.
we spoke that rather than using oil or any ghee or anything, dairy, you have a beautiful palette of spices. I mean, go crazy. Who's saying not no to spices, right? Eat, spices are not going to add to anything, but definitely, I mean, with the variety of grains and legumes we produce, the variety of seasonal vegetables available, right? You can
Yeah,
create the best and healthiest meals.
I like that. Yeah, and actually, just it's a matter of fun fact there for people. I think that I don't cook. Like my wife is, she's an amazing cook and she makes amazing food for the family. But sometimes I just do some experiments, and I was trying to make this rasam soup, which my
Mhm.
friend gave me the recipe, and what I did is just I took the pan and I put some mustard seeds and bay leaves and I think cumin seeds, and I
Mm.
dry roasted them. And the aroma which was coming because I
That's
released
so
all the natural
wonderful.
oils
Yes, yes.
without oil. So I made the rasam soup without any oil, and it was so super delicious.
And we
Yeah.
don't think about our herbs, cilantro, how much we use
Right.
dhania, and it
Just
has
imagine. Yeah.
essential oils,
We
just the
have all the
smell of
flavors.
it, the flavor of it.
So true.
So yeah, it is incredible, like what we have in our kitchen and how we can heal ourselves. We can prevent, manage, and just heal ourselves just by food, right?
Yeah.
I wish, after listening to this talk, people get inspired,
I hope. Yeah.
try
I
to.
wish. Yes. Even if we can reverse one diabetes in one person, we would feel that our the goal of this program has been achieved.
Very
And
good.
Dr. Shah has achieved phenomenal results. He has shown, in his last presentation,
Wow.
the
I have
work that he
seen
has
he
done with
lost
patients.
64 pounds. He lost 64 pounds in 6 months.
Wow. That's an
A1C,
amazing.
A1C dropped from 7.2 to 5.4.
Amazing.
So that's amazing. So
That's amazing.
yeah, so it's really nice. It's a good feeling because I see it live. Basically, that's where our patients
Yeah,
come see me and
that's true. Yeah.
joy to see them going in the right direction. So
Okay, so wonderful discussion with Dr. Shah and Dr. Ali. And, as I started the topic with the exponential numbers all over the world, and Dr. Ali spoke about how exponentially diabetes has grown especially in Indian population. With the whole entry of processed foods and fast foods, et cetera. But good news, what we heard from both the doctors, that it can be managed, it can be reversed with a whole food plant-based diet. So, the lesson to take with us is eating more fiber, adopting a whole food plant-based diet, and that's the way to go. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Shah and Dr. Ali, for a wonderful informational
thank you.
session.